Hello everybody, and I am not currently a licensed physician, and this is not medical advice, it's purely informational. This video is about sleeping medications, and why you probably shouldn't take them in general, and it's not because they're addictive or dangerous or something. It's actually because you're going to get worse sleep. But I'll also tell you the situations in which they can be useful. So first let's start off with, there's the different kinds of sleeping medications. If you go to a doctor, there's a few broad categories of medications that they might prescribe you for sleep. I think I'll start with the worst ones. The worst would be if they give you antipsychotics. Now, of course, they often don't tell you it's an antipsychotic. And as a rule of thumb, antipsychotics make you a retard. They stop your brain from working. Because, that's a brilliant approach to treating psychoticism or schizophrenia or something. Just make their brains not work. If you turn them into a zombie, they don't seem so crazy. It does also make them a little less crazy, but for the most part, you are just zombifying a person by giving them antipsychotics. And now the thing is, any person with a brain would realize that you wouldn't want to go through your day doing your thinking as a zombie. You're obviously not going to think as well. Your life is going to go downhill. Your brain is not working. Now, the thing is that at night, your brain is also working. People, oftentimes, they think, oh, I just go to sleep, I wake up the next day, I just get rest. No. You are thinking through everything in your sleep. Your brain is working a lot. That's during your REM sleep, the dream phase of sleep. And pretty much all sleeping medications are going to decrease that because most sleeping medications decrease brain activity, especially antipsychotics, like Seroquel. Say you have something important the next day. Now, first of all, you wouldn't want to take Seroquel the night before in case it can linger into the morning, because you wouldn't want to be a zombie the next morning. But even if you're going to get plenty of sleep, and whatever you have the next day is going to be later in the day, so it's going to be worn off, no chance of being a zombie the next day, but you have something important. Oftentimes, that means you want to be thinking about it. And if you take Seroquel at night, you're not going to do very good thinking about it that night before. I've spent a lot of my life in school and university, so I can use lots of examples from there. I would not take a sleeping medication, especially not an antipsychotic, the night before an exam. Once again, not because I'm worried that I'll be a zombie the next day, but because the night before an exam, your brain needs to be going through all that information while you're sleeping. If you take an antipsychotic, or actually most sleeping medications, you're going to do worse, even if you get more sleep. So what would be the next worst type of sleeping medication? Well, these are much more healthy, but still they're going to diminish brain activity. And actually, for all the other sleeping medications, I'm not really going to put a better or worse label on them. I just personally think antipsychotics are nasty medications. They make you a zombie. So I don't think people should ever take them. Now, of course, you can get zombified with this next class of medications as well. It just takes a lot more of them, and they don't make you quite as much of a zombie, and that is benzodiazepines, like Valium, Xanax, otherwise known as diazepam, alprazolam. They also decrease brain activity, but to a much lesser extent than something like Seroquel. And they're much more benign on the human body. Most of them are essentially non-toxic. Most of them you cannot overdose on. But once again, you have the problem that they decrease brain activity, so while you get more sleep, your brain is working less. And once again, if it's something the next day is something that requires thought ahead of time, you do not want to decrease your thinking during your sleep. That's when you get a lot of good thinking done. Have you ever heard the saying, I need to sleep on it? Probably because you need to go to sleep and let your brain think about it subconsciously so you wake up the next day and can decide. I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but oftentimes with myself, I notice that I can just not think about something, go on a walk, think about something else, and I'll have figured out the thing I was not consciously thinking about. So I implemented that into my life where I periodize my thinking, like doing intervals. Same thing with studying for school or university, whatever you want to call it. I would never just study the whole day because you need your subconscious mind to think about it, not just your conscious mind. So study, do something else for a while. Let your subconscious mind think about it. Study, do something else. Study, do something else. Also, because you can get burnt out if you just study all day, but that's not the main reason. Like, I could just study all day. I mean, I don't want to. I would rather go to the gym, practice MMA, go on a walk, be with my wife, hang out with friends. I'm not one of those people that enjoys having no life. That's no way to live. However, even if I want to get the most out of my studying, I take lots of breaks to let my subconscious mind do the work. The next class of medications, the Z drugs, like Ambien, Lunesta, uh, those are very similar to benzodiazepines, except they do not affect the body so much, which actually makes them even worse for sleep than benzodiazepines. Why is that? Because when you sleep at night, you need your body to rest too, not just your brain. So on top of the fact that they're going to decrease brain activity, so you're going to get less out of your REM sleep, get less thinking done, your body is not going to relax as much as it should. So if the reason you can't sleep is because you drank a few Red Bulls or Monsters or whatever energy drink you drink, I don't drink energy drinks, and then you're laying in bed with a high heart rate and a tense body, you're going to wake up the next day not feeling so good. Now you take a benzodiazepine instead, your body's going to relax, it's going to get that relaxation it needs, you're going to feel a lot better. I guess you could also say that antihistamines are a class of medications that are given for sleep. They're a tricky one. They often have, I'm not going to say typically, but they often do have antipsychotic properties of blocking dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, which makes them undesirable. And one thing that's interesting is some of them also have serotogenic properties. They inhibit the reuptake of serotonin, like antidepressants. So actually, not that you should do this, but if you needed a little extra boost the next day, you could take an antihistamine like diphenhydramine, because it does actually have a significant serotonin reuptake inhibition effect. I've noticed that even before. I don't know if it was before I knew about it or after, but my wife has noticed that. Other people I know have noticed that. Like, you can actually feel that, like, your mood is improved the next day. But I certainly would not get in the habit of using it for that reason. I am completely against taking antidepressants. You should change your life to be not depressed, not take medications to block the feelings you're supposed to feel, that you're supposed to compel you to do something. Bad idea to take antidepressants. Not medical advice, though. I'm not a licensed physician, and even if I were, I couldn't give you medical advice on YouTube, because that's not allowed. Yeah, just my personal opinion, based on really good reasons. So finally, you may be wondering, are there any sleeping medications you can take that are not going to screw with your sleep? Well, yes, there is. Notice I didn't say yes, there are. Because there is only... Oh, actually, there's two. So there are two. One of them is just, it passed my mind because it's not prescription. I was talking about medications you would get prescribed to you. So number one, melatonin. Incredibly useful, incredibly healthy, a great antioxidant, one of the strongest antioxidants for the human body. Completely natural. It's going to increase your REM sleep. That's really good. Your brain does even more good thinking while you're asleep. So that is great. It does work. You do not need 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams. I don't know how big they make some of these pills, but it's insane. You need like half a milligram, 1 milligram. You can take a couple milligrams. You can even take a few milligrams. But to take 10 milligrams, in my opinion, based on very good reasons, it is ridiculous. It's not dangerous, but it's ridiculous. It's just overdoing it. Now, if you're trying to get antioxidant effects from it, then perhaps you want to take 10 milligrams, but you're still probably going to cause some amount of negative feedback in your body to produce less melatonin, especially with such a massive dose. Plus, melatonin lasts a long time, so you might wake up tired the next day. So what is the other one? Well, it's a very uncommon medication. Sadly, it's been very demonized. That's a topic for another discussion, but it got demonized as the date rape drug. Does it ring any bells? It's GHB. Evil, bad medication, because, yeah, it's nonsense. A medication is a medication. It can be, it's not good or bad. It depends on how it's used. GHB should be used far more than it is. It should be far less demonized than it is, considering that it is the only sleeping medication that is going to increase your REM sleep and relax your body, and wear off in a few hours so that you wake up the next morning completely refreshed. In fact, you may even be more refreshed than usual, even if you had that same amount of sleep, because you get a rebound effect where you're extra excitable the next day. Now that sounds unusual, like you're extra excitable, like you're gonna get... No, I don't mean it like that. I mean your neurons are gonna be firing a bit more. It happens with other medications as well, but due to their long duration of action and slow excretion from the body, you're not going to notice it so much, and it's certainly not going to benefit you the next day. Whereas GHB, it will. GHB you can overdose on, but guess what? You simply don't take that much, and you don't overdose. You know how much you're going to take, and you take that much, and you stop taking it. I mean, that's how you're supposed to take it. You're supposed to have a pill, which is a certain dosage, which is a safe dosage for you. Everyone's different. And you take that pill, and you don't drink a bunch of alcohol on top of it. You don't take 10 more pills. You take just that one, as you're prescribed to do, and you go to sleep. So there you have it. Melatonin and GHB are the best sleeping medications, hands down, no argument. Now, I'm not someone to ever say, don't do your own research. Do your own research. But if you choose to believe me, those are the two best sleeping medications. If you can, only take those two. The rest, I mean, if your body needs a lot of rest, then something like a benzodiazepine can be very useful. But you have to know why you're taking a sleeping medication. If it's because you want your brain to function better the next day, stick with GHB and melatonin. If you just need a lot of physical rest for your body, take some Valium and try to sleep 12 hours. A lot of people really underestimate how much sleep you need. We live in a society that's very performance-driven. It's weird to call it that, but it demands a lot out of people. People are stupid and they waste a lot of their time, so it's not really the thing. It's demanding, but people waste a lot of their time and don't sleep as much as they should. But you know, some people, of course, are actually busy, so busy that they can't get sleep. There's an actual lack of time. But people have a weird belief that you only need like a lot of people at least have a weird belief that you only need like 6 or 7 hours of sleep at night. Now, some people are okay with that, but by and large, most people seem to need 8.5, 9 hours. I'd say 7.5 to 9 hours. Notice I say 7.5 to 9. So I actually said 8.5 because, so first of all, you sleep in about 1.5 hour long intervals. But the reason I said 8.5 is I've noticed, at least with me, and I shouldn't apply this to everybody, but this one peculiarity that my last sleep cycle, unless I'm very tired and need even more sleep, but if I'm just normal, I'm not exhausted or something, then my last sleep cycle gets cut a little short. So 8.5 hours is sometimes how long I sleep. 8 hours, 40 minutes maybe, instead of 9. Whereas with the earlier sleep cycles, they're like 7.5, 6, 4.5. And I do not want to cut those early. If I do, I will feel the difference. That's another thing. Sleep according to your sleep cycles. Yeah, you have to figure it out for you, but try to get 4.5 hours, 6 hours, 7.5 hours, 9 hours. I mean, don't try to get 4.5 hours or 6 hours, try to get 7.5 or 9. But if you wake up, so say you have enough time to sleep 6 hours and 40 minutes. It's actually a good idea to only sleep. Now, I'm not saying lay in bed, because laying in bed is different from sleeping. You can lay in bed for all that time, but a good idea to only sleep for 4 sleep cycles, 6 hours. Because you're going to be more tired if you start a 5th sleep cycle and you interrupt it after 20, 30, 40 minutes. It is best to wake up from REM sleep at the end of your REM sleep cycle. Because first, everyone's different, but best to wake up at the end of a sleep cycle as REM is where starting, like, because you want to get the REM. You want to wake up in REM sleep, but you want to get all that REM, but then wake up at the end of the REM part. So I hope you like this video. If you got any questions or comments, please write them below. Please like, subscribe, and comment. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me. And what helps, yeah, I'm not going to say it yet. It sounds too narcissistic if I were to say it. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Check out my other videos. You might notice I don't wear a shirt and I'm a lot less formal, but I decided I need to start being a little more formal to get more views and taken a little more seriously. But that's just not how I like to be when I make my videos. But I think I did a good job. Wore a medical coat that has no logos on it, so I shouldn't cause any problems. Just has a wonderful Belarusian flag and a wonderful shirt underneath it, with a wonderful person underneath that wonderful shirt, underneath the wonderful flag.